Hey Yang Gang Fitness, this is Steven. Welcome to our very first professional interview on the podcast. We're joined today by Julian Hever. Is that correct? He-
Julieanna Hever, yes.
Juliana Hever, um, a plant-based dietitian. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you doing?
Excellent. So, I think first off, I'd love to hear all about what you do and how you help people, and I think we can go from there after that.
Sure. Well, I am a plant-based dietitian and I counsel clients around the world from right here and on my laptop. And I have written 5 books. The last one was called The Health Span Solution, and the one right prior to that was the Plant-Based Nutrition Idiot's Guide. And I've published 2 peer-reviewed journal articles that were physicians' guides to plant-based diets. So I teach all sorts of audiences from healthcare professionals to laypersons, and just reach out to my audience directly about all things about eating plants and all the benefits and how to eat optimally to reduce your risk for chronic disease and to reduce mortality and increase health span and to live your best, healthiest life possible.
Awesome. So you just basically somebody comes to you and they say, I want to make a change, and then you uh, take their life and kind of give them all the recommendations to succeed, basically.
Well, people come to me for a whole sort, all sorts of reasons. A lot of people come to me with serious health diagnoses. I work with a lot of people with, cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes, obesity, cancer, autoimmune disease, gastrointestinal, all sorts of different issues health wise. And there's a whole spectrum. I also work with people that I work with a lot of athletes, elite athletes, all types of different athletes. And I work with families and like across the lifespan. So
Hmm.
pregnancy and then childhood nutrition. And so I basically touch every population
Oh, wow.
and in different ways depending on their goals. So I made it a stance a few years ago where I'm never going to try to convince someone to eat this way because it doesn't work. It's like it was like hitting my head against the wall for so many years. I finally got to the point where I'm like, hey, you do you. If that's what you want to do, great. That's great. If you want to learn how to eat a healthy diet, a whole food plant-based diet, I will give you everything I know and teach you as well as I can how best to do so and how to optimize it for your goals.
That's cool. So you let people come to you and just put it out there that you're open and willing to help, basically.
Only if they want to go in this direction, because it's like people are very food is so deeply personal. I did a TEDx talk about food being culture and love and relationships and it's like so much associated with food. We don't socialize without it. Like the primary part of the center of our socialization is based on food, even from funerals and birthday parties and
Yeah.
everything in between. It's always centered around food. So there's so much dialogue and there's so much dogma and there's so many different things about food that are very personal and interactive. And so I can't tell, it's like telling someone, no, you can't be that religion, or you can't, like that, you can't do
Yeah.
that. But I do know how to make you healthy eating this way. So if you want that, then I'm more than happy to help. So I'm more like, if you want my help, I have all these resources. Let me show you what I would tell you. And if not, then you know what? Great, you're not my people. It's fine. Do
Yeah.
you? I like doing that these days.
Did it always start out that way, or did it start out that way, or did you like when you first started try and push it on to people?
Yeah, I mean, when I went plant-based 15 years ago, it's like I just wanted to shout it from the rooftops because I'd been wanting to do so for decades prior to that.
Yeah.
And I was always intimidated because where are you going to get your iron and where are you going to get your whatever? Protein is the big one. And so when I went through 7 years of graduate school. I was a personal trainer full time. I started my own business as a trainer. And while I was doing that full time, I was going to graduate school and I did the dietetics program and an internship. So I had all these years of or experience with clinical setting, with medical nutrition therapy in the school setting, in the community setting where I was doing counseling, and the educational, there's so many realms to dietetics.
Yeah.
And when I finally went plant-based after I had all of that experience and understanding of the literature and it changed my health personally, like dramatically. Like I resolved lifelong issues with sinus infections and acne and stomach issues and
Hmm.
all sorts of things. Like my life, I never felt better. So I just wanted to tell everyone about it. So yes, at first I was telling everyone about it. Like, and it was awful. I like lost friends and isolated
Oh.
myself from family. But so I learned.
So yeah, you did say food's personal, so yeah,
Right.
you know, one of the things you do first date or dates after that, you take them to dinner, you know, and that
Yeah.
says a lot about you, and you're always so cautious about what you eat, and it says just so many things about you, which restaurant you picked, and everything like that.
Right. Exactly.
So that's pretty
Yeah, and
cool.
you like you bond over food. You like, oh, my grandmother always made this for me, or oh, I love to make this for my children so that they feel loved and nourished. And we see, and like the whole, like a lot of cultures are like food is love, and here I'm feeding you because I love you,
Yeah,
and to take that away and say no, that's not good for you. It's almost like attacking their family. It's like saying
yeah.
no, your family is trying to feed you poorly, when of course that's not true. It's just so deeply embedded in our everyday and every part of our emotional being and physical being.
hmm So are your diets like 100% like no animal, like vegan basically, or is it um mixing some of that stuff in occasionally?
Well, the evidence is very, very clear that the more animal products that are added to the diet, the let's put it the other way: the fewer animal products in the diet, the more advantages that we see with chronic disease incidence.
Hmm.
A plant-based diet, a whole food, a completely plant-based diet, is the only diet that has ever been shown to actually reverse advanced stage cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes. It is associated very strongly in the literature with reduction of medication. And I always say results are typical, because my clients get off of medications that I was, as a dietitian, I was taught these are lifetime medications. People don't get off of these things like high blood pressure and high blood
Yeah.
sugar medicines. That's something that's permanent. But my clients, I had a client a couple of weeks ago, in her first week working with me, got off of her high blood pressure meds.
Oh
That was the
wow.
fastest I've ever seen it happen. So yes, you can, so I can't honestly say that no animal products, if you have any animal products, you, especially if you're a cat, how perfect was that? That those cats are obligate carnivores. But we are omnivores, and it seems like we thrive the most without them. But I can't
Yeah.
ethically say you, if you have an animal product, you will die, because I think there's some that we can definitely get away with some, because not there's not that many vegan cultures, populations. But the healthiest populations around the world, the blue zones,
Hmm.
they have Dan Buettner identified 5 places around the world with the longest lived people and the healthiest populations. And all of them were primarily plant-based. So some of them, except for one there were a lot of vegans, and that's the only one in the United States, in Loma Linda, here near me
Hmm.
in California. And that's because of their Seventh-day Adventist practice. They consume, most of them are plant-based. So other than that, the other 5 populations in the Nicoyan Peninsula and Okinawa, and there's 3 others, those were mostly plant-based, but not exclusively plant-based. So how much can we get away with? I don't know. We haven't really studied that exactly, but it seems to show that less is more when it comes to including those in your diet. You don't need them. Basically, you don't need animal products
Yeah.
at all. And yeah.
So you uh if you were to set like a limit on how much meat you could have in a week, would it be like one meal out of the week, or would it be like small portions in a day, or like what is fewer, basically, I guess?
I always ask, like, compared to what? And I would say I will not encourage people, oh, well, you make sure you just do one. Like, I just don't even want to include that conversation. You do what you're
Okay.
gonna do, but you don't need it at all. And so
Yeah.
maybe 10%, like if you think about it throughout history, all throughout history that we know of, from the in ancient Egypt, the ones that lived the lowest, like that died earlier and had these chronic disease and they were overweight, were the royalty, the ones that had wealth, because they were able to afford animal products, they were able to afford sugar and stuff like that. So the peasants that throughout history have been the ones that relied on staple foods of whole grains and legumes and vegetables and fruits even. So if you think about that, it's like the staple foods are the healthiest foods. And so how much can we get away with? We don't know. We really don't know. Maybe a
Yeah.
little, but you don't need it. So that's
Right.
to decide how you approach it. And I think that a lot of people, it's a journey. It was a journey for me. It took me many years to get to this place where you just kind of start taking stuff out. A lot of people start with, I'm not going to have red meat, and then a lot of people, and then you go away from chicken, whatever. Everyone has their
Yeah.
own process to getting there. There's some people that I work with. I've worked with thousands of people at this point, but there's some people that just want to dive right in and just go all in, rip
Hmm.
the band off. And then there's some people that just want to stepwise into it. And I think the research suggests that the stepwise into it is more sustainable because it's
Mm.
like you just transition easier. But I think there's a definitely a personality, what would be best for you, like what works best for you in terms of what would be the best strategy going in.
Yeah. Like I'm giving up. It's out diet soda this week, and it's been something that I've struggled with, so that makes sense. It's always like when you go cold turkey, it's easy to hop back to it though. So we'll see how that
Yeah,
goes.
good luck with that.
Thanks.
It's a journey.
Yeah. Um, I we had a personal question, my wife and I, that every time we try and have like a salad added to our meal, just like I either at a restaurant or at home, like washed up and everything, unless if it's like spinach based is our greens, we usually get gut problems. Have you heard about that much? Like,
Well, the reason is fiber. And now 97% of the US population does not get the minimum recommended fiber. And I have, in all of my books and my papers, talk about the two most important things, nutritionally speaking, are fiber and phytonutrients. And what happens is your microbiome is very different than my microbiome because you have a very, the microbiome, the gut bacteria that is basically responsible for your immune system and all sorts of different things. It changes based on what you eat and where you live and all of that. And the best, the way you create the most healthy, the most disease fighting microbiome is by consuming healthy fiber, because fiber acts as a prebiotic.
hmm,
It's basically the fuel for the healthy bacteria. So when you're not consuming it, you've got a very different profile than someone that's consuming it consistently. The reason you're experiencing that is because you're not doing it consistently and
hmm,
you haven't built up that optimal microbiome. And so what happens is you feel it until you get used to it, and then you change, and you will get rid of you'll build more of the healthy bacterial profiles, and you will those healthy bacteria will actually get rid of the pathogenic bacteria, creating a better environment, a better forum for all of these wonderful health promoting properties that contributes to your health. So it's about consistency. I hear this a lot with vegetables, especially cruciferous vegetables, as well as
hmm.
beans and legumes. You have to just do a little bit every day and build up, build up, build up, and be very consistent, because that's how you build the microbiome. And you don't, then all of a sudden you don't feel any of that discomfort, and it's normal to you. In fact, you would feel yucky if you didn't get it, because then it's like your body's like, wait, where's my fiber?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's saying that, so I guess I don't know enough about all the spectrum of vegetables because, like, I assume spinach is equivalent to the like romaine lettuces and everything like that. But it's sounds like your gut treats them all slightly differently, huh?
Maybe more like, to make it even simpler than that, I would say you want to get a wide variety of fruits and vegetables. You want to make half your diet. Everyone agrees with this. The American Cancer Society, the USDA, everyone agrees that half of your plate, half of your diet should be from fruits and vegetables every single day. And if you're not doing that, then you want to start incorporating things. Just start with things you like. So they all offer unique nutritional properties, but there are categories of vegetables. And I go into this, especially in Plant-Based Nutrition Idiot's Guide, where I
Hmm.
broke down all the different types. But you want to have the leafy greens are spectacular. And I want you to have different types of leafy greens, like kale and collards and bok
Hmm.
choy and broccoli and Swiss chard and lettuce and cabbage. And then there's like the cruciferous, some of there's overlap with a couple of those, but the cruciferous vegetables, very strong anti-cancer properties. That includes like cauliflower, again, broccoli and kale overlap with the leafy green. And
Hmm.
then there's all sorts of other vegetables that have different properties, like the orange, red, yellow, different fruits and vegetables like bell peppers and strawberries and blueberries and all of those. There's all these carotenoids and anthocyanins, all of these phytonutrients, which along with fiber are the two most health promoting compounds that you should flood your body with to to get these results. I mean, it's these okay, phytonutrients, plant
Yeah.
phytonutrients that are found exclusively in plants. Fiber is found only in plants. Okay, those two things are anti-inflammatory, they are anti-carcinogenic, they are healthy for your heart, they are healthy for your blood sugar, they are healthy. There's so many reasons that these properties, are magical once you consume them. So I like to say keep it as simple as possible. Just eat the rainbow every day at least once.
Yeah. It almost sounds like I need to get your idiot's guide for sure then.
Definitely, it's got a lot of information, and we address every time of life, like every part of the lifespan. So, it's like why plant based, the evidence for why plant based. Although we're not allowed to reference in that book, so in the Idiot's Guide
Huh.
series do, do references, but I do have two peer reviewed journal articles that are highly referenced,
Oh,
and then
nice.
also my last book, The Health Span Solution, which has 100 recipes or more than 100 recipes, has four very deep dive scientific chapters. Like you've never seen a cookbook with that much science
Oh,
in the
wow.
front. And that's referenced. So there's lots of that. If you really want to deep dive, like I
Yeah.
like to geek out on that stuff.
Yeah, my wife would probably love that. She's a chemical engineer, so she loves
Uh,
deep diving into stuff like that. So that sounds like a really cool book.
Thank you.
And
That's
she
awesome.
and she's a big cook, so she
Oh,
she grew up cooking with the family. Talk about personal time whenever we're visiting, the cooking hour is like that's the thing to do, basically.
yeah. With many families, it's the same. It's wonderful. It's a very bonding experience.
hmm We did have a few community questions too, mostly from a big fan of yours who's in the group. Um, she wanted to ask about like how you think exercising relates to weight loss versus your diet, basically.
Okay. Well, I've been doing video. I started back on a series called the What Would Juliana Do Q&A because I had a TV show called What Would Juliana Do?
Mm-hmm.
So I've been addressing questions like this because I get the same questions all the time. I just want to have a place to send people with the answer.
Yeah.
And I want to help people understand this. And I recently did one video, and I wonder if this is what she saw, saying that I finally lost my last 10 pounds that I've been struggling with my whole, like I'd been at the same weight my entire life
Mm-hmm.
as a personal trainer, as a dietitian, all that. I'd known all those strategies. The two things that helped me actually get to that point were one was, well, the other one was uh, not worrying about breaking my metabolism and knowing I could eat less, it's okay. But the other
Mm-hmm.
one that was so major for me was to decouple exercise from weight loss. It's always about the food when it comes to weight loss, and exercise actually with my clients and myself, I noticed it actually can compete. So
Hmm.
what I have clients do is set aside a time that they're going to dedicate towards weight loss, and that means just resting and not pushing, because you think about it, it's like you've got this metabolism, you're breaking down muscle tissue, and then you have to
Yeah.
build it back in metabolism, right? That's the whole process of what exercise is and how you improve in strength and performance and all of that. So that's like an anabolic state where you want to build back. So that drives
Mm-hmm.
hunger. And there's also fluid shifts that happen. So you can do it. I mean, obviously you can lose weight and exercise. It's so much easier to just take a break from exercise, just focus on eating less for a finite period of time, get to your goal weight, and then bring back the exercise. Because there's a million reasons exercise is important for everyone. I mean, there's so
Mm-hmm.
many reasons for your immune system, for your strength, for your muscles, your bones. There's so many reasons to exercise. Weight loss is better off separated from that. I've seen, and it makes sense from a scientific standpoint as well.
So
Even though we
yeah.
don't do that, it's kind of mind blowing. Sorry, it's like mind blowing because that's what we've always. I mean, as a personal trainer and dietitian, that is what I
Yeah.
was taught. So it's, but it's true. I've seen it now hundreds of times.
Yeah, so that's basically saying if your goal is to lose weight, you drop the exercise and focus on that basically.
Just temporarily, just
Yeah.
until you get to your goal.
Okay. That makes sense. I can understand that. Um, she also was wondering about protein in the plant-based diet and how that what the you brought it up earlier how protein's kind of a interesting subject, but like where the main sources are and like do you have to eat way too much. In my opinion, I feel like you have to eat a lot of plants to get enough protein, especially for like my marathon running and my weight training and things like that. So I'm also pretty curious about the protein side of things.
So much to say about protein. First and foremost, I don't even use the word anymore. I don't use protein, carbs, and fat as food groups. It is so confusing
Yeah.
and misleading and unimportant. It doesn't matter where you get your protein. Every single plant food has every amino acid. And there are plenty of foods. Like I use this mnemonic called the six daily threes, and it's there are certain foods to prioritize within that range of the vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, mushrooms, nuts, seeds, herbs, and spices that I want people to eat in infinite tasty combination. There's a way to prioritize that into these five categories. Well, it's six daily threes. One is exercise. The other five food groups where there are nutritionally speaking certain foods that you should prioritize every day. So like legumes, which are beans, all beans, peas, lentils, hummus should be a food group. Uh, Soy foods like tofu and tempeh, those provide ample amino acids. Then there's nuts and seeds is one of the other categories. And I want you to eat 1 to 2 ounces of nuts and seeds a day. Plenty of amino acids. Thirdly, I have never seen a protein deficiency. You see protein deficiency only when it's coupled or really primarily driven by malnutrition, someone that's not getting enough for
Hmm.
various reasons, either for but you just don't see it. I in 25
Yeah.
years in the health and fitness industry, I have not seen a protein deficiency. So that said, something that was very interesting that I learned about recently, or I've incorporated into my understanding of all of this, is the health span and longevity research. The only way from a dietary perspective that we have ever extended health span and longevity in every model organism tested, from yeast to our primate cousins, is with dietary restriction without malnutrition,
Mm.
specifically restriction of the essential amino acids. Less protein may lead to longer, healthier life. So,
Huh.
what does that mean? How do we, what is your goal? Is your goal to get big and strong and fit? And because you can be strong and fit, by the way, you just may not be able to be as big. If that's the primary goal for you, then by all means, then you probably need to slam the protein shakes. You can do steroids and you can do creatine and all that. And you can actually get that bulk. But I don't work with people like I don't work with bodybuilders anymore for that reason. I work with strength trainers and people that are wanting to be strong and fit and do all sorts of amazing feats and marathons and endurance training.
Yeah.
Do we need to be big for that? No. And do we really want to compromise our health span and longevity? Probably depends on where you are in your life. A young kid is feeling invincible. They're like, yeah, bring it on. I don't care. I'm going to live forever. I just want to beat, I just want to win. I want to be number one. I get that. But I also work with a lot of people that are fighting for their life. And it's like, do they need protein? No, they
No.
need to be healthy and survive. So depends on what your priorities are and where you are in your life. You don't ever need to worry about protein if you're eating whole foods. If you were on a completely vegan diet, the only way to be low or deficient, if you will, I don't even like to think that way. You have to work very hard. You'd have to eat a diet that was like white sugar and oil and refined products,
Yeah.
white bread. That's the only way. If you include like that category, that's why that list is so important. Vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, mushrooms, nuts, seeds, herbs, and spices. You can't
Yeah.
become deficient in those in protein.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's all tied into what your objectives are in life and everything. So,
Yeah, but also it's important not to worry. Like people pursue
yeah.
protein like going out of style and like we're gonna wither away. And like, I mean, I can't even tell you how many athletes I've worked with and how many healthy people and fit people that I've worked with that don't take protein powders, that don't worry about it, and they just eat whole plants. They have some beans, they have a couple of nut. I had a nut-based dressing for my lunch today, and I had some black beans and corn in my salad. It was delicious. I'm covered. I literally am covered. I've done it on chronometer and I've measured, and it's like so much easier than we think. And just because something is good doesn't mean more is better.
Yeah. So what's like your weekly grocery shopping? Is it like just all super colorful in your refrigerator basically, or do you even, since you're eating it very quickly and fresh, do you even need to refrigerate all your foods or anything?
Well, leafy vegetables go bad pretty quickly, especially like leafy green vegetables and cruciferous vegetables. So those definitely need to be refrigerated.
Mm.
Fruit should stay outside if you can and don't get fruit flies. I keep my squashes outside. My weekly shopping depends on what I'm making. I'm kind of, most of us are creatures of habit and we mostly consume the same types of foods. myself included. So I tend to get the same things and know what I need off the top of my head at the
Yeah.
market and bring it home. And I know what I'm going to make. And if I'm running low, I know what I just keep lists and I just try to keep it so simple. I just want it to be simple because I have enough things I'm working on in my life and I don't want to
Yeah.
worry about food.
Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
not to say, I have to say, I do love food. I'm a big food. I love food, but I want to keep it simple.
Yeah, you wrote a cookbook, so you got
I've
you
written
got a lot of
5 books with recipes, so I do. I
yeah.
love food.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you noticed, but we just had a baby recently, and I think you mentioned something about helping families. What is that advice like? Because children, uh, she's only she's not even done breastfeeding yet, but children, I hear don't don't really gear towards vegetables as much these
Well,
days.
congratulations, first of all.
Oh,
And
thanks.
yes, I'm a mom too. I've got a 15, I can't believe I have a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old
Oh
right
wow.
now. Yeah, it's a blink of the eye. I know it's so cliche, but it's so crazy. And so I do know this personally, and I work with lots of families to navigate the situation. The first most important thing, number one overall, the research all shows that role modeling is everything. So no matter what you say, it's do as I do and not as I say. Because if you're over there, pounding the cookies and you're telling your kids to focus on the cauliflower, not they're watching the hypocrisy, they're watching
Yeah.
that and the role model. So first thing is you get your nutrition in alignment. The best thing you could do is have both partners, or if it's two of you in the house, both of you on the same page, nutritionally speaking. I went through this transition when I had my kids, and my ex-husband is a doctor and he was like kind of resistant to it. So he had some struggles, but I work with families where they're all on the same page and it's very easy for
Hmm.
the kids to eat healthy because this is just what's in the house. It's not like, oh, we have to eat this, but then we're gonna have dessert, that kind of these dichotomous thoughts. So if this is all that they know and this is all that they're used to, especially if you start at the beginning
Yeah.
where they just grow up eating that way. I know so many kids that have started this way. Their parents were both on the same page. They grew up eating delicious, nutritious cuisine, and they thrived and they got big and tall and strong and athletic and all of that. So it's not to worry about that by any means, but it's just about what you're used to. Once you throw them out into the real world, the wild real world of socialization, a lot of bets are off. But if they have that core foundation from being at home in a really healthy environment, they are going to be better off because it'll be like, ooh, I don't really like that stuff. Or, oh, yeah, I'm going to try that because everyone has to try things to establish
Yeah.
who they are in this world. And to, that's part of growing up is being able to separate from your parents and identifying yourself. That's just part of the brain development.
Yeah.
But if they grew up knowing that and they grew up and they still watch you eating this way, that's a win-win-win for them.
Yeah. And for you, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, I had a big conversation today about you said the major macros that people argue over in also carbs was one of them. We were arguing about what foods give you like the uppers and downers the worst and stuff like that from the carbohydrates. What in that sense is something that is more geared towards like your weight loss plan and stuff? Like, do you focus on potatoes or some other carb source?
So interestingly, that's why I always say I have a meme that says carbs are not a food group because if you look at
Yeah.
a potato is actually has a better amino acid profile score, a better protein profile score than does 90% lean beef.
Hmm.
So is a potato a carb? No, it is not a carb. There is no such thing as a carb. A carb is a macronutrient, and it confuses everyone to the even to the level of researchers so badly that we have research articles published that say a low carb and a high carb diet increase mortality.
Huh.
What does that mean? That
Yeah.
doesn't explain anything. That's so incongruous. It's like you can't even make any recommendations based on that. So if we just throw out those biochemistry terms and just let those go die, let those stay in the lab,
Yeah.
and we just start talking about foods and back to that list. I won't say it again. I probably will say it again. But that list of foods, and we start talking about foods. Potatoes are great.
Yeah.
Brown rice is great. I want you to eat whole intact foods
Hmm.
and not worry about their macronutrient profile. You will never manage them to a way that will help you with weight loss, with health, with a research study. There's just no rhyme or reason when you analyze it at that level.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because we were having a big debate on, ketosis and all that fad diet stuff today, and of course that came up, and um, yeah.
It's
uh,
it's it's prevalent, and there's so much obfuscation out there that it's debilitating. And people go,
mhm.
I'm just going to go eat fast food. Screw it. I'm just going to have it's not serving us. We need to drop this language and we need to just start focusing on foods and what we're putting in our body and what that does to us. There's no question about what the literature shows about what you're supposed to eat. Nobody's going to argue that fruits and vegetables are well, some people now are trying to do that, but everyone, the main groups in the World Health Organization, the USDA, the American Cancer Society, they all say half your plate should be fruits and vegetables. So you can't
Yeah,
really argue with it. There's so much evidence.
yeah, yeah. I don't think I've ever heard your plate needs to be like three-fourths meat and or anything like that. I've never seen something come out that way. Um, I do, you brought it up earlier, protein shakes. I do those when I am in weightlifting season, so you don't see a problem with those entering your diet usually.
Are you asking me if I
Oh
don't
yeah,
see it?
yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I do. I don't recommend them. I would rather
Okay.
you just may eat more calorically dense foods like if you really wanted to do a smoothie because you couldn't chew that much, because there's a lot of volume eating with plants because they're so low calorie, most of them.
Yeah.
So that you can, I was just doing a telehealth live Q&A today, and we were just talking about this, that you could do like a blended salad or a green smoothie where you can pack in a lot of nutrition into a blender. And because you break down the fiber, it's easier to get in and you could basically eat more. And I have a video on this on my social media about green smoothies, to green smoothie or not to green smoothie, I think is what I call it. But that's that I would do that instead of a protein powder. I'd rather you add some like seeds and nuts or nut or butter and lots of leafy greens. It's a great way to get greens and you don't even taste it because you throw in a banana or a date or something like that, or berries, and you don't even taste the bitterness. And it's so it's a great way to get some more greens in, and then you don't need to worry about again proteins. Like if you think about that, the research on health span, less is more when it comes to protein. It seems like.
Yeah. Yeah, you just always hear when you're, trying to get to that max lift that you need more protein to let your muscles heal and recover faster. So
Well, what you
that's kind
need
of
to
what.
recover, you need a good workout, you need the good strategy in the gym, and then you need to recover with an anti-inflammatory diet that's going to protect those muscles and protect all of that and help with the oxidative state that is promoted by that process, by the catabolism and anabolism stages. That whole process needs to be supported. And it's not that you need more protein to do that. Protein is not really the issue. It's where
Mm,
you get the food. It's really the anti-inflammatory properties. It's the leafy greens,
hmm,
it's the berries, it's the colorful things, it's the nuts and seeds, all those phytonutrients that are going to support the recovery, not the
yeah,
protein. You get that too, but you get it better sourced from plant
hmm.
foods.
That makes sense, especially since like a lot of the protein powders now, they advertise the BCAAs that they've added into the formula and things like that. So,
Yes.
okay. Plus you get like that you get it almost feels like a meal then if you're putting in all those veggies and nuts and things into a blender and drinking that.
Yeah, and it is a meal. And the good thing for anyone that's trying to gain weight, you can get more in. You can get more stuff in without feeling full because it doesn't satiate you for very long. You know, it's
Hmm.
like drinking calories basically. You're drinking them, so it takes up less space in your stomach, so it doesn't trigger the satiety levels as much, and it goes through your system just faster because you're not digesting it yourself.
Hmm.
So it's interesting. It's a good way to help with gaining weight or just getting enough for training.
Yeah.
That's the only time that's not the only time. That's one of the main reasons I would recommend smoothies. And also like someone that has any kind of oral or dentition issues, like senior citizens have that, or someone that's dealing with malnutrition and they just can't get enough, or they have digestive issues with, some kind of GI diagnosis where there's inflammation in the gut, and they may have to worry about that kind of thing. So in those cases, I would recommend smoothies, but not protein powders necessarily.
Yeah.
Just add a spoon of a tablespoon or two of hemp seeds or something. You're going to get the amino acids plus the fiber plus the omega 3s plus all these other wonderful, magnificent things that will help you stay healthy.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Um, I don't have any more. Oh, sorry. questions directly, do you have any like books you're working on now or anything like
I do. I have so many things I'm working on right now. I'm like so excited. I'm kind of on fire right now with ideas and projects, and I'm just on this mode. But I do. I do
that?
have a little puppy down there. I do have a book at the publisher right now. Hey, Mister, come here. I have a book going at the publisher right now with my agent, so hopefully that is
Oh,
going to be in the
nice.
works soon. And I'm working with clients around the world and developing all sorts of new programs that you should stay on the lookout for. I'm really excited. This is so fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
th-
Thank you.
I think I found your YouTube channel too, right?
Oh yeah, I
So,
came back to YouTube. I just got back to YouTube. So I'm gonna work on that too. I want to make my videos better produced, but I just want to get back out there and answer questions and be a resource for people right now. Right
yeah.
now, we're all struggling. It's the hardest time in history of our lives to
Oh,
be
yeah.
home and to not, and health is so at the forefront right now. And so I just wanted to be able to answer questions. And that's why thank you for the opportunity for letting me answer your questions today.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on and being our first guest.
I'm honored. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I hope I did okay. I'm very new to this, but I also am basically I'm trying to inject positivity and good feelings right now in this time, and I think it's been a huge benefit, and hopefully I can find more people like you willing to share their knowledge and help us grow.
Definitely, definitely. And well, I think you did a great job and it was really nice to talk to you. So thank you.
All right. So where can people find you?
The basic place you can find everything I'm doing is at plantbaseddietitian.com.
Okay.
And then on social media, like on Facebook, I'm at Plant Based Dietitian. On Instagram, I'm my name, Julieanna Hever, which is spelled, it's kind of difficult to spell, but you could find me on at plantbaseddietitian.com. My little puppy's going a little crazy.
I love it. My wife just took our puppies out, so
Okay, good. Nobody here at the moment, so it's all
oh,
me.
well. All right. Well, thank you for coming on, and hopefully we'll chat again maybe someday.
Sounds good. You take care. Stay safe.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.